Ready Check Radio. What's up, Internet? It's Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. That means here on Ready Check Radio, it's time for the Relic Grind, the Final Fantasy XIV Square Enix podcast, where we talk about Final Fantasy XIV and Square Enix stuff on a podcast. I'm your host, Mike Byrne, as always, aka Magic Man. Thank you for joining us. If you're hanging out live on twitch.tv/ReadyCheckRadio, thank you so much. Consider joining us live anytime you have a chance. It's normally Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Since just Flynn and I in a two-person show, we're doing it a little earlier so we can get him to bed earlier. He's doing me a favor doing the show overseas. So we'll do him a favor tonight, and then it's back to normal time next week. If you're joining us live, make sure you chime in on all the topics. We love sharing your opinions as we go. And if you're watching on YouTube after the fact, listening on Audible, Spotify, or even heading over to ReadyCheckRadio.com to check out the backlog of episodes there, we very much appreciate that. While you're there, thumbs up, like, subscribe. This is episode 149. Joining me, the one and only Mr. Paul Berlin, a.k.a. Flynn. What's up, sir?
Hello, and my mind is full of Asians, and more Asians.
Yeah, I mean, we can kind of dispense with the spoilery stuff at this point from 703. We were going to talk a little bit of... There's not a ton of Final Fantasy news this week, but there's a couple things. We've got the usual, right, all of the interviews that came out of Gamescom. They're still rolling some of those out. I mean, you know how
so many interviews.
Yeah, the site, like, I know Gamescom was like weeks ago at this point, but that's, they go in, they ask like 40 questions, and they divide it up over 4 different feature interviews that they'll post over the next 3 or 4 weeks. So we've got a few of those to go over, see what Yoshi P is saying about 8.0 character classes and what changes you can expect in the expansion, if any, and the idea of, well, maybe it's time you're actually a hero again. I'm just saying, maybe it's time it's actually a story about your character again. We'll get to all of that. And then, of course, we figured we'd throw in some Final Fantasy TCG chat. Love the trading card game. You all know that. But the North American Championship is coming up at the end of this month. It's the last weekend of September, Saturday, Sunday. That's going to be the 27th, 28th in Los Angeles, where we lock in the final members of the North American Worlds team for later this year. So we'll finish it all up with that. And by the way, Flynn, I did hear from Square Enix. I will be commentating Nats.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'll be in LA on site giving commentary for the 2-day event. It's going to be a blast, and seeing everybody from Square Enix and Hobby Japan and all my TCG friends. It's going to be an absolute blast. Joining me will be Emmanuel Padilla. I'm sure we will have some fun stuff in store. Let's just say.
Yeah, you got to start bugging them in person to give you access to the Twitter account.
Right. Well, that's not the official account. That's why I keep trying to claim that one. Yeah. They have their own, it's, _NA official Twitter account, but there is such a juicy Twitter handle there for FFTCG that's just been squatted on. Somebody did run it. It wasn't like they just signed up and took it. They used to be involved in the community, but I never knew who was behind it, and nobody seems to know. And so every 6, 8, 12 months, I do my periodic, hey, just tweeting at you. I will take over this account if you're willing to give it up.
And if you're watching, give it up to Mikey.
Yeah, definitely give it up. Give it up. I'd love to have it. Hey, so let's, Flynn, talk about some Final Fantasy XIV first. And hey, if it's a shorter show today, it's better than no show. Yeah. So Yoshi P did have some interviews, and some of the ones I wanted to talk about that we didn't mention last week. One, because they just didn't fit with what we were discussing, and two, some of them actually came out this week, so we didn't have them for the show. One of them is from PC Games, and I want to talk about this one because it specifically hits on two pretty big topics in the community, not just since the expansion launched, but also more recently, and things that we have pointed out on this show. I mean, we're by no means unique in the fact that we brought some of these up. But they are things that I've heard us say, Flynn. For instance, Final Fantasy XIV has had what many, including me, feel like it's just a class homogenization over the
Yeah.
last few expansions, where Black Mage felt like a Black Mage, and now it's okay. It's a ranged DPS magic class, but it kind of just feels like the other ranged classes with a slightly different flavor thrown over the top. And a lot of MMOs fall into this cycle too, right? Where if you make the classes too unique, that's something Yoshi P has always said he wanted to avoid. If you make the classes unique, then you do run into situations where when you're developing, say, raid mechanics, you have in your mind that, a paladin and the X and Y abilities that a paladin has, and only a paladin has, do make them a little more beneficial here than, say, bringing a bard. And Yoshi P has always wanted to avoid that kind of raid composition where you're thinking about, do we really need a bard for this one? And if we have a bard, let's have them change classes or play a different class. Where I always kind of struggled with that in the Final Fantasy world, and maybe you do too, is when you talk about a game like World of Warcraft, when you talk about changing classes, you're talking about either a monetary situation, pay for the class change, or you're talking about leveling an actual alt, a totally different character to level them up. Now, Final Fantasy, yeah, you have to level them, but it's all the same character, right?
Yeah.
The problem becomes, though, that Final Fantasy then tacked on these gearing tombstone caps that make it very difficult to gear, say, your paladin and your bard to the same degree at the same time when you might be doing relevant, challenging content. So where do you think Final Fantasy needs to go with this before we talk about Yoshi P's answers? Or his teases, I should say.
Job identity has been a big thing with Final Fantasy across the single player games, never mind the MMO. And, for years, a Dragoon felt like a Dragoon, Black Mage like Black Mage. There was some similarities, and it was okay, because you still had enough of an identity to still enjoy it. But in a raid environment, we settled into a meta. We know numbers-based watch composition to bring to any raid. So it doesn't matter if, something has a bit of a nicer toolkit, because the dev team apparently tests with all compositions.
As
So
they
everything
should.
so everything should be balanced regardless of what crazy stuff happens, like, a bunch of pictomancers in an ultimate raid. But yeah, I want some unique identities back, even if we are still stuck with a 2-minute meta.
Yeah, and we don't even get like a lot of class specific nods, right? It was actually nice to see in the 7.3 cutscene a nod to whatever class you happen to be playing, right? With the little action sequence, and the animations were different based on what job you had. That was nice to see. Just a little nod to me being a Black Mage. And when Yoshi P was asked about this, he said, look, within the MSQ, we can't always provide a unique expression for the jobs in every patch. But when it comes to using the jobs in battle content and bringing out more of that uniqueness in each job, we are working on a big update. It's important to note there, though, Flynn, that before Dawntrail even came out, Yoshi P had talked a little bit about he wants to combat class homogenization, but that wasn't planned until 8.0. So now as we're getting closer, people want to know more.
Yeah.
So he's also kind of took the dive in and said, oh, by the way, don't expect class changes, which just seems counterintuitive to what he had just said, right? How do you make the classes feel more unique and class specific without class changes of some type?
I am wondering if we could have like a base 2-minute meta that anyone can work out, and we'll have some extra keystone skills that can actually show some skill expression, like we used to be able to do. So, like the high end people, they'll be able to show off the toolkit in a way that people who just know how to do the bare minimum won't be able to do. Which could be nice, being able to interrupt your standard 2 minutes to adapt to a different situation. It's something that's been needed because a lot of jobs now, you interrupt your 2 minutes and it's like, I am now drifting away from optimal for the rest of the fight.
Yeah. I mean, he does go on to explain that people might think of it as an expansion of the system that we have in the game. So the players who already like the way things are can feel at ease that nothing's going to change for their experience, but we are trying to do something new on top of what we've already done. So that's kind of how he's, saying, hey, we don't have to make class changes per se. Like a black mage can play the way a black mage plays right now, and if you like that, you're fine. But we want to add another layer or another system on top of that
More
starts to
gauges.
give. Yeah, and that's kind of where you go. You go, okay, so instead of, black mage just feeling different from the other classes, now there's yet another system on top of things to make it feel that way. And that, I don't know. I'm going to have to see how this is executed because it just sounds like, I don't know, needlessly complex. Maybe that's a good way to word it.
It feels like
just make the classes feel like the classes or feel unique from the other classes. Don't keep adding these what seems like almost optional engagement systems on top to have me feel like a unique class. That feels weird to me in some regard.
Yeah, it feels very much Stormblood, where everyone just suddenly got a job gauge, and so many of them just felt out of place. Even now, a lot of them just don't feel like they should exist on certain jobs.
Yep. Now, when it comes to your character actually being more involved, because in 7.0 through 7.3, we've kind of really taken a back seat and have been just casual observers to Wook Lamott's storyline.
Yeah, in a game
basically.
that does not support us being a mentor in any way, shape, or form.
Right. He says, in terms of the individuality of each job and how showcasing the player character to the fullest in terms of how they are the hero of the game, we want to continue placing importance on both of these aspects moving forward. It's not necessarily the case that you'll have that kind of experience will always be incorporated in the main scenario. He's kind of referring to the investigation sequence we did in 7.3 where we actually had some character autonomy, right? We had some light puzzle solving elements. It was us leading things, not just kind of watching things happen around us. He says, but if that idea is interesting and we think that it would be fun for the main scenario, there is a possibility that we could incorporate things like that. Again, of course, players who want to immerse themselves in the story and really experience as much as they can found it refreshing. On the other hand, doing things like this, there are some players who just want to rush through the main scenario as fast as they can. And for them, this kind of element was more of a burden for them, and it got in the way. But at the end of the day, the important thing is the experience of the players, and the story is a part of that. So we want to take a look at what good feedback we received and what bad feedback we received, and we can look at making the best of all that feedback in order to create something new. Now, he does go on to acknowledge that this is almost an impossible scenario, right? You're not going to be able to tell more stories or more immersive stories that involve some more time on the player's part, or some more reading on the player's part, or some more walking around investigation on the player's part, and also make those people that just want to blitz those quests, clear them, and move on to the end game content. Those are two counterintuitive things. And this is yet another area that Yoshi P does this all the time, right? And has since A Realm Reborn. And at that time, getting things going, I think it served him well. I'm not so sure if this philosophy serves him well anymore. It's that we're trying to please everybody, and you end up pleasing nobody scenario, right?
Yeah. Very simple answer. In the journal, when you accept a quest, add a skip button.
Right, but he's talking about like quests that do involve kind of like that more slow paced, investigate this area, find these different items. Are you talking about just giving players an option to just flat out skip that whole sequence?
The people who want to skip, just allow them to fully skip. Because they don't care about story, so they're not getting any investment. And then the players who actually care, we get to just enjoy it.
Okay, so I'm going to counter argument you for a second. Let's say they do something like that and they find out 70% of people are skipping those particular sequences. What rationale do you possibly have to cater to that 30% anymore? Right? It's kind of like the whole raid debate. You know, the minority of players that do the high-end, most difficult raiding in any MMO are occasionally your loudest section of the audience, and you want to cater to them, but to a degree, but you can't cater to them. They're 1% to 2% of your audience. If you end up trying to cater to both here and you put in a skip button and 70% of players are using it, at what point do you look at that as a company and say, it's really not worth us doing those things anymore, even though 30% of our audience likes those, because the bulk of our audience does not?
I think it would allow them to focus more on the story portions, cater them the way they want to for... it's a story-fronted MMO, so they can tell the story they need. And then the people who are just there to do the content, they can do their own thing. I think other MMOs, Blue Protocol comes to mind, that do a similar thing where if you want to skip, you just skip. Maybe have a sort of negative aspect to it, where if there's specific quest awards, you don't get them. So there's sort of a balance that way.
See, I kind of ascribe to the theory that Final Fantasy is known for its narrative, whether it's an MMO or not. Like, you kind of have to just know that that's what you're getting. You know, you're going to get some slower paced moments. You're going to get some more storytelling beat moments, character development moments. And if you're not okay with that, I'm not sure why you're playing Final Fantasy XII or 15 or 16 or 14, right? There are other MMOs that probably cater to just you. I don't really care about the story. Give me a big axe and a cool combat system and let me go crazy and do some endgame raiding. I think there's better games for you than Final Fantasy XIV. I'm a little worried now. We didn't have Dawntrail do all that well when you think of it holistically compared to all the other expansions. And it sounds like some of the larger things that they may be considering for 8.0 and going forward, making the character the hero again, thank you. I mean, that's kind of the point of playing most MMOs. I don't need to be the chosen one, but I do want to feel like I wasn't the chosen one in something like The Secret World, one of my favorite MMOs of all time. But I had my own powers and my own agency, and I was a key part of the story, even though I wasn't some chosen one or warrior of light. Not that I hate those storytelling tropes either. I'm fine with them. I play both WoW and Final Fantasy XIV right now. It just kind of seems like some of these ideas, and they're very conceptual. We're not going to see a whole lot of the details until we start getting into the fan fests, and I hope that'll clear this up and I'll, change my mind. But these seem like very vague, nebulous, let's try to appease everybody, and you end up appeasing nobody in those types of scenarios an awful lot of the time.
Yeah, big time.
Who is your favorite story character in Dawntrail? Like, whose story arc did you enjoy the most? Because Yoshi P has an answer. Although he did try to hem and haw on it for a little bit, and he threw a couple extra names in there, but he clearly had one favorite.
Aaronville, I want to say.
Really? With the whole mother and, oh my god, robot and all of that arc?
Yeah, after losing both my parents, it sort of resonated a lot more with me as a storyline. Because there was so much of the MSQ that just took me out of focus. Just the way the story direction went and stuff is like, Wookiemat, it's like, yeah, cool, this story's okay.
But, and Wookiemat shouldn't be in charge of anything. Like, just shouldn't be in charge of anything.
Yeah, so it's
I
like
could
doing
see
the
that.
they just connected more. I wish Kryl was more of a focus. I think that would have been a better story.
I kind of thought, I was really hopeful that we would go in a direction with Koana. I thought Koana was a really compelling character when we first started out in 7.0, and then I was kind of disappointed that he wasn't used in like a very meaningful way. He has some moments, some very good moments.
Yeah, more
But
well-rounded as a character compared to
yeah, which was funny. Yoshi P's was Galulja, actually, because it's
Roger
kind of
was
like
freak.
the first time we are seeing narrative beats in 14 from essentially a child's perspective, right? He says, out of all the characters that we've depicted in 14, I think he is the youngest in terms of age. But even though he is a child, he's very strong foundation and a strong standing. But at the same time, he's also malleable, as it were. I think that goes without saying because he is a child. But when it came to depicting that trajectory of his emotions, I think that was one area we did that really stands out. Another example is Lamati and Koana taking him in as part of the family, showing that link and bond of them becoming family was another area that stood out. In a similar regard, I could also bring up the example of Kachiwa and Aaronville and their bond together as family as well, to your point. So you and Yoshi P have a little something in common there. A little something in common.
Just a little.
You don't develop MMOs for a living, though.
No. I wouldn't want that stress.
Hey, if you have not, the Final Fantasy XI discount of Echoes of Vanadiel discount. The discount of Vanadiel is on.
That's what it should be called.
That's really what it should be called. And they should really just stop doing this damn thing and bundle these subscriptions already. I mean, I'm glad they're doing it. I'm a huge 11 fanboy. Torchwick is back in 11 and, is neck deep in that too. If you don't currently subscribe to 11, you have to not subscribe to 11 right now or have never had it. But let's just say you do have it and you're not subscribed right now, then you are eligible for the $6.95 subscription for 1 month, as long as you sign up by September 25th. If you're totally new and you have to buy the game and everything, that obviously comes with 30 free days, so your $6.95 discount will be on that first paid month. They're not taking away that free box month that you get. So if you have a 14 account and you've never played 11, or you have but you've let your sub lapse, now's a good time to get 1 month at a discounted rate. The trial-sized trials, they call to me, says Torchwick. He's playing Summoner, which is, yeah. Hey, I know you've brought up these types of things in the past before, so I wanted to give you a chance to chime in on this because PC Gamer sat down and talked to Wrath Games, who does all those like solo-only challenges.
Yeah.
And you love watching some of those things. And right now, he's been working his way through 400 plus hours of main story quest line in 14. And it's basically, Wrath has been inspired by playing RuneScape's Iron Man mode. And so in 14 is doing all the content themselves, no auction house. They got to craft everything they want to use, like all of that stuff. And they finally got to a boss that had a mechanic that absolutely requires a party. Took him 85 days to beat it because the only real way past it was leveling a job high enough that you could come in and obliterate the fight before certain death came. And so, like, PC Gamer said, why? Like, why do this? And just like, hey, I like it. It's fun. I just decide to go and do, and I do. I did it years ago with a Breath of the Wild run where I came up with a funny little thing saying I don't believe in ghosts. So he wouldn't believe anything ghosts said in the game, and anything ghosts told him to do, he would not do. Just weird solo new challenges. And I like PC Gamer's headline on this one. I spoke to Final Fantasy XIV solo only, who spent 85 days beating a single raid boss on his own, and I was wrong. That old MMO magic is still alive and well. I saw this article, I immediately thought of you because you always like throw this into my show notes every time some new milestone has been beaten on this front.
Yeah, his current milestone, from what I can gather, is Innocence. That's how far he's gotten now. He's almost at the end of Shadowbringers MSQ. But the really cool thing about watching this challenge when I get to watch a stream is how much of the game world he actually has to interact with. Whether it's doing daily hunts to get a particular item, having to descent to try and get another, gathering everything, crafting everything. So it's seeing the stuff that, as veteran players, take for granted. It's like, oh, it's 10 gil on the market ball, I'll grab that. Where it's 6, 7, 8 hours of grinding for Raph to do it, especially trying to get potions. That guy has lived so much in Palace of Death and Heaven on High. I'm sure he's gone quite insane from it at this point.
Yeah, and to be clear, I mean, if you have never watched or anything like that, you may be thinking, yeah, great, you over-leveled MMO content, then you went and steamrolled it. Wrath level syncs to everything. The only time that rule is broken, like it was here with Susano, is when it's just mechanically impossible to do it alone at the appropriate level. And Susano's mechanic, the breaker mechanic, you need a party. So that one had to be over leveled and then taken on later. So don't be so quick to give it the ho hum. You just out leveled the content. That's not what Wrath is doing.
Especially
everything Wrath is doing is level sunk.
The level 83 dungeon, Domeg. That boss turned into one of his harder enrages.
Why? What happened?
Because I don't know, I think it might have been the same boss. It just keeps getting power-ups. So he was taking 33k autos to the face.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, just like this boss now becomes an actual DPS check when you go through it the first time. It's like, oh, this fight was cool. Like, being able to watch the entire last boss all the way through to the point that he turns into a little frog and locks himself into it. It's like, oh, that actually happens. I haven't seen that since week 1 of Shadowbringers.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's not, like, I couldn't even remember what you were. I was like, well, why would that have been a challenge? I was, oh, okay, yeah, I get it.
So I think the DPS check is when he breaks open the floor and you got to do the path and break the damage shield.
Oh, yeah. No,
so
you're right.
That was the DPS check, because otherwise you just die.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to FanFest. I still think 8.0 needs to bang it out of the park in ways that some of the previous expansions maybe didn't have quite the pressure on them. I think it's going to be kind of a make or break moment for the future of 14. I'm not saying the game's like going to disappear if the expansion's bad. Don't misread or mishear me. But I think it could very, very much hurt the game and future plans for the game in ways that many players will feel if 8 doesn't kind of undo some of the angst that has been going on with the 7.0 series.
If what I think might happens, we got a throwback from 1.0 to do with this ASEAN.
Yeah. That's another thing, though. I'm kind of like, I like the ASEANs, but it's like, there is an element of me that's like, we're gonna go back to them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think it's a cool.
Not that I don't like the ASEANs. Go ahead. Sorry.
So in Heaven's Sword, when we dealt with Alexander, there was a particular cutscene with Mid, where she received a horn that summons Alexander from Ellison. That Ellison is Travanchet, an ASEAN from 1.0, who had a second relic. And, with Dawntrail, we've got Alexandria.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm under the impression that the ASEAN we see is Travanchet, whose real name is either going to be Ashtok or Dudalafan. Dudalafan probably being the smarter bet based on his seat in the convocation, to one for architecture and innovation, because of how Electro just skyrocketed the technology. So I think we're dealing with Dudalafan, but I don't think this is going to be a typical ASEAN story, because they're no longer under the call of Zodiac.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was like, I don't mind the ASEANs, but I also don't really see them as the big baddies, quote unquote, anymore, because we've dealt with the largest influence of the, like, how do you reclaim that title of main antagonist? I hope. I want to see something new, right?
Yeah.
Like I want a new adventure. I don't want a variant of an old adventure. If you had the Asians and Hydaelyn and Zodiark and you were totally committed to the end of that story happens before 7.0 launches, this is the end of that story, well, then don't go pick pieces of that story to kind of bring back and make the main antagonist. That feels almost lazy in some regards.
Because we got, what, 5 total Asians that we don't know have been fully killed?
Yeah, I mean, it was nice to see, and I don't have a problem if they play a part in the storyline, but I don't want to see them as the lead bad guys again. I want to see the next bad guy.
Yeah,
right?
I'm expecting this to be more of a setup for the next bad.
I hope so. I think they're smart enough that that's where they're going with it, but I hope so. I agree with you. In other news,
we're going to the Blind Frost.
I honestly, I feel like it's got to be Marasidia at this point, right?
Well, Yoshi P has said we're not going there yet.
I know,
very recently.
But Yoshi P has also said things just to get you to think one thing and then 2 months later tell you the opposite.
Yeah, but also Blind Frost, the Winterers, is sort of...
It makes sense. Like, yeah, it makes sense. I think everybody just wants to see Marasidia, though, right?
Yeah.
It was like when it was just like, let us into Ishgard, let us into Ishgard.
Yeah, give us more Ishgard.
So I see Marasidia as that. Hey, a quick update for those of you waiting for the 3rd installment of the Final Fantasy VII Remake series, or waiting for Kingdom Hearts 4, and hoping that will come out before you are 6 feet underground. The team says that those are progressing smoothly. From creative director Tetsuya Nomura, during the kind of Ever Crisis 2nd anniversary broadcast stream, he did some voiceover and said, right, so looking at the comments in chat, I'm seeing people ask every so often about the 3rd entry in the Final Fantasy VII Remake series. Apparently, co-director Motomu Toriyama mentioned in an interview that something might be released around the 2nd anniversary of Ever Crisis, so that's probably where the expectations are coming from in chat, right? So things are progressing very smoothly. I can't really say more. If I suddenly went, well, actually, everyone would be really surprised here. So yeah, things are moving along really smoothly, and the release timing has already been decided. Talking internally about Square Enix, right? We're moving forward according to that schedule right now, so please rest assured and be patient. And this has also come up in the comments here and there, but Kingdom Hearts 4 is likewise steadily moving forward according to schedule, so please look forward to it. That is coming straight from the no news category.
Yeah. We are working on things, yes.
I mean, it is heartening to hear that
stages, but it's happening. Yes.
I mean, it is heartening to know that in their brains they have a release date that they're gunning for the remake part 3 already.
Yeah, I'm just wondering
that they're at that stage where they're like, this is the day. What's that?
Just waiting for Nomura to try and turn it into another dancing game.
So yeah, maybe we'll actually see Kingdom Hearts 4 before we die.
Yeah. Until it gets cancelled with everything else.
Game we've talked about a few times on the show here, Star Ocean First Departure R, which is actually a very good game. That's getting a limited physical edition thanks to Limited Run Games, who I talked about on a show or two ago. Pre-orders begin tomorrow, and they run until October 26th. You'll be able to get the standard edition at $40 USD, the Steelbook edition at $80 USD, and the Ultimate edition at $200. $200. The Ultimate edition, in case you're wondering, for the PlayStation 4 and Switch, contains the Ultimate edition packaging, the Steelbook Bundle Edition, an acrylic battle scene cube, a soundtrack, and acrylic standees of Roddick, Lila, Ronix, and Millie, a pin, a keychain, and an individually numbered certificate of authenticity. What they do not say is that if that will be a limited run of how many. They don't give us this serialized number. So I don't know. Could be you get number 3,000 out of an unknown number, or it'll say 3,000 out of 5,000. I don't know. They have not revealed that portion yet. If you haven't played it and you are looking for physical copies of stuff, that is one to pick up.
Oh, yeah.
That's
I want that display cube.
It is sweet. I don't know if I can spend $200 on it.
Yeah, I can't. But I could craft those sprites and make my own for about $20.
That's true. You'll cry if it gets canceled. What? Kingdom Hearts 4? Yeah, that's not getting canceled. You
if you're picking up,
be alive when it comes
already.
Out. Yeah, my kids may be dead. Your grandkids, my grandkids, your kids, they'll be able to play it, Torchwick. Tokyo Game Show 2025, just around the corner. Ironically, the same weekend that Final Fantasy North American Championships is going on. Tokyo Game Show is September 25th through September 28th, and Square Enix has announced that everything they're going to be at the show. It's a lot of Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D remake stuff, a lot of Final Fantasy Tactics stuff, some Final Fantasy VII stuff focusing on the Intergrade demo, and then some Magic the Gathering crossover stuff, and then they'll polish it off with a little bit of Adventures of Elliot demo, a meet and greet for some Final Fantasy XIV characters, so you'll see Alpha there, you'll see Moogles there, stuff like that, taking pictures. Excuse me, I got the hiccups. And then Super Dragon Quest X will be there as well. Please, Dragon Quest X, bring that offline version to the United States.
Yes, bring it west. Come on now, give us more Dragon Quest.
Did you see they're doing a meet and greet with the Dragon Lord, like from Dragon Quest 1 and 2? I was like, it's prominent on their site. You can get a photo with the Dragon Lord and stuff at the Square Enix booth, and I was like, man, they're really calling out that you can go ahead and meet the bad guy from Dragon Quest 1. Like, it has marquee positioning in their ad copy. It's like, what is going on here?
They remember in Dragon Quest used to sell well.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I picked up the original Dragon Warrior complete in box. I think I told you about that on last week's show. Yeah, it's pretty sexy. I'll have to bring it down for a show and just show it on the camera so people can see it. It's in great condition. I'm such a Dragon Quest baby. I tried playing. Did you ever try to play 10? The MMO in Japan? So there's a couple different things, right? Like if you try to do MMOs that are Japan exclusive, and let's assume that there isn't some like massive region blocking that you can't bypass with a VPN or something, or like some Korean games will require Korean social security numbers, so you're just shit out of luck there. But Torchwick and I, we've tried twice for two different Japanese MMOs. The first was Phantasy Star Online 2 before it had come west. Because that one, I had played PSO for years on both the Dreamcast and PC and loved it and really wanted PSO 2 to come west. There were just no plans from Sega to bring it west. And so Torchwick and I were like, we finally broke down and we were like, we're going to try to set up an account. Because there was one particular server and community patches to translate a ton of stuff in the game. So we were like, okay, fine, we'll give it a whirl. And literally, Torchwick knows where this is going. Literally, Flynn, it took us like 3 days to beat the first boss, which was the CAPTCHA to sign up for a fucking account. Because it was all hiragana, katakana, kanji characters in the CAPTCHA, and then these lines running through the CAPTCHA. And as a native Japanese reader, I can't tell if these lines that are going through are, ending up as part of the character or not. And I'm trying to use a translated keyboard to hit the right ones. It literally took each of us like 2 days before we could each finally create an account.
I think I went through that for a Digimon MMO.
Oh, geez. On the Dragon Quest X side, that one I actually got up and running pretty quickly. It really wasn't all that hard. It was harder. The billing was harder with that one for some reason, and I can't recall why. Maybe somebody watching this who has done this will remember why. But I seem to remember having more of a problem with getting a credit card that would be accepted by the billing system than anything else. I could be misremembering that, but I feel like that was my sole issue with getting into DQ10. The problem with that one was once I was in, it's all in Japanese, and there was no access to fan translations. I don't know if there are, translation patches. I don't know if there are at this point. So it just became really tedious to be like having to look at a guide on one monitor, and then it seemed like I was just doing what a guide told me to do. I wasn't really playing a game.
Surely lost the Final Fantasy XI experience.
No, don't do that. Final Fantasy. No. Just because you are too lazy to go explore and find it the hard way like we did, just because you're looking up the answer, I was doing it out of necessity because I had no idea what the fucking menu said. I was like, I don't know what my character can do. Like, I have no idea what's going on. That says 1. I'm assuming it's my level. It might not be. 11 is not out of necessity. Although, yeah, you do kind of.
Yeah.
The days of. The wikis are really good. Have a wiki open on another monitor. It will make your life easier.
Japanese style things can be weird.
I wish there was an English patch for that. I really would like to dive into Dragon Quest X Online and just like explore the hell out of it. Like even if it ends up sucking, and I'm not enjoying it, I really would like to just have the experience of knowing, hey, that wasn't for me.
There is a fully English translation mod.
Is there really?
Yeah, it's upon Nexus.
No. Oh, okay. So this is like in the last 2 years or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a while ago when Torchwick and I did it. It was greater than 2 years ago. The offline does have a fan translation as well. We knew that was going to happen. Okay, I'm actually going to look at this. Dragon Quest X English Tools versions 1 through 6 complete in English. Current content. That was as of 2 years ago. Okay. Well, I know what Torchwick and I will be doing after the show. Torchwick will be leveling his
captures, more captures.
Yeah, more captures. Well, no, I have an account now. I just shit. I'm gonna have to find my account. Yeah, that's gonna be the thing. Like, do I still have this account? Hey, before we wrap it up here, I do want to talk a little bit about FFTCG since we are heading into the North American Championships. And Flynn, you will be having some of the European Championships over the next month or so as well. The local qualifier scene and the Materia Cup scene here in the United States, Canada, and the rest of North America is complete. Everybody that is going to nationals is going to nationals, and they have their invites. There's still that chance you could get in on the last chance qualifier happening at the Hilton LAX airport the day before the North American Championships. So that Friday, these top 7 players after Swiss, no top cut, will be added to nationals the next day. I keep saying nationals because that's what it was back in the day. It's the North American Championship now. And so I just wanted to kind of get your take on the season. Flynn, I know this was like the first season you competitively played at a few events. You had done some pre-releases and things like that.
One local qualifier, I did.
Yeah, but you went to a competitive event. What did you take? What did you see? How did you do? What's your whole spin on the entire competitive season?
So at my locals, when we hang out, it's been more casual fun decks as it's just a casual hangout with kids. So I saw some cool decks here and there, but nothing vile and evil. Then local qualifiers. I understood why Cecil's a problem, Rose is a problem, and Unit's a problem very quickly. I think I went 1 win, 3 losses.
What did you take? And I know the answer to this question because we talked, but for the show, we'll pretend I don't know.
Barnabas.
Barnabas.
Yeah, because I couldn't afford Clive, so it's like, I'll build Barnabas and do some first strike shenanigans.
Well, you
Like,
were doing Ice Lightning. You could have Torgold into Clive.
I owned one copy of Clive.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It was the cost of the card. Like, the Barnabas and Odin's cost me less than a single copy of Clive would cost me.
Yeah, the World Decks is where you want to get them, brother.
Yeah,
that thing right there. I got them. I got them on my my counter right behind me too, right there.
Yeah, so I've got my Clives now. I can do some wacky things. But I did manage to pull off my deck's upset. I managed to bring in my Bard backup, tell my opponent's backups, get the Ever Crisis Sephiroth out with my Odin on board, and just hand strip my opponent because I'm hitting with first strike. They had to discard a card every time. I drew into another Odin, so I got 4 hits out with my Odins. No cards in hand, all backup still, and I was having a great time.
Dirty dog. I in the Canada Materia Cup that Torchwick and I went to, I was running Mono Earth, and I ran up against an Ice Lightning Barnabas Odin deck, and it almost got me. He played it perfectly. Like my opponent played it perfectly. Turn 1 hit me with a Barnabas that primed, and bam, bam, tagged me twice.
Yeah.
Turn 2, I'm on Mono Earth, so I still have to set up. I'm committed to the setup. I have enough X burst that I'm reasonably comfortable going to 5 in any game anyway. So okay, fine. I might have to go a little faster here, but there's no need to panic. Turn 2, played a forward with haste, put me from 2 to 5, and I'm like, okay, yeah, we're gonna have to do something about this situation right now. And then played into a situation where he went for lethal, overextended, and if I got an X burst, the game was going to be over because of the overextend. And the 6th damage was a 6-drop Leviathan. So I put 1 forward back in his hand, and then I pushed the primed Odin as the dark forward, dark or light forward that Leviathan can select back into his deck at the bottom, which threw the Odin out of game and threw the Barnabas back in the deck. And from there on out, I was just able to just build up a wall so that there was no coming back. It was just a slight overextension on their part. Can't really blame them for going for it, because if they let me set up, I'm going to win. And they already had me at 5 damage, so I don't know how much of an overextend you would technically call it. It's kind of like go for your shot where you have it. And it was just unfortunate for them that I did pop the X-Burst there. Mono Earth has kind of been my favorite deck of the season. I've dabbled in Warriors. I've dabbled in Refia, both very strong. Just not my preferred playstyle, particularly Refia. Warriors, a little more so my playstyle. Refia, not so much. Torchwick qualified, will be at Nats, competing on day 1. Yeah, got the qualification, ran Knights at an event. I came in second a number of times, and unfortunately my opponent was not already invited, so and I did not manage to win. I ended up TOing like 4 events this year, though, so I kind of asked myself out of a bunch of qualifying chances, only one of which I actually planned to run, and then I ended up running like 3 or 4 of them. You had mentioned Light Yuna.
Yeah.
And Cecil and Rosa. So I did want to take a look at those real quick before we part ways. Let's start with Rosa. These were just a few weeks ago announced as Cecil and Rosa are flat out banned. You cannot put them in any standard deck. And then the Light Yuna, a very new card, is now a limited card cut down to you're allowed to have 1 in deck, similar to the Sophie limitation from sets ago when the Monks deck went nuts with 3 Sophies, and then also got some help from some other cards there as well. But Rosa, this little 1-drop 3K forward, managed to find itself on the banned list. The cost required to cast any cat forward you can be paid with CP of any element, and when a card named Cecil enters your field, draw 1 card. This effect will only trigger once per turn. Notice that it says per turn, not per turn and only on your turn. So it can happen on Paul's turn and on my turn, but only 1 time each. And before we kind of dive into this, I think we do have to show the Cecil that got banned too, so this makes a little more sense here. This Wind Cecil got banned. When he enters the field, you get to play a character of cost 4 or less from your hand to the field for free. If it's Cat 4, you also get some backup activation. And then anytime one or more of your characters are chosen by an opponent's summon or ability, Cecil taxes it. And if they don't pay 2 CP, the effect gets canceled. So these two found their way onto the banned list. The one that isn't banned but is kind of part of this equation, or at least the recent variant of this equation, is an Earth Cecil that you can discount onto the board if you're willing to take a point of damage. And so you play the Rosa, you discount the Earth Cecil, put him on the board, you draw a card because Rosa saw Cecil come in. And then that Earth Cecil at any time as an action ability can just be sacrificed to go search out the Wind Cecil, play it onto your field, which then triggers another free play, and it also triggers a draw as long as you do it, say on your opponent's turn, right? I play Rosa, I play the Earth Cecil, I draw, I pass to Paul, and during his turn, I sack the Earth Cecil to go search the Green Cecil, play him, draw, and free play a character of cost 4. Kind of nutty, the way the two were interacting.
I am so thankful to have Sid Randell in my deck. No autos for you.
No autos on forward entries. Yeah, definitely a good counter to it. I
know I wasn't picking you for damage, which is fine.
I was a little surprised to see the Rosa get banned. Because that one kind of came out of nowhere. Like, I saw something happening with Yuna, and Torchwick and I talked about this a lot. It wasn't a question of, are they going to ban Yuna or are they going to limit Yuna? Torchwick and I just more got into debates of, are they going to do it before Worlds or after Worlds? What's the benefit to doing before Worlds? What's the benefit to waiting until after Worlds? We both agreed that something was going to happen. We just disagreed on when. I thought they would wait until after Worlds. Torchwick turns out it was right, and they didn't even let it go into the North American Championships. They nipped that one in the bud. But and Cecil I could kind of get. I didn't think he was a huge problem of a card, but I kind of get that any card that it's just like searching cards in any game, right? Like, they only get better over time.
Yeah.
They just get more and more targets. Well, so does Cecil here. I was a little surprised to see Rosa. I felt like that one kind of came out of nowhere, and it almost, like, you could ban Cecil, and I think it solves the Rosa problem, but upon reflection I thought maybe it was more future-proofing, right? Maybe they know of some things coming down the line, because they're always developing a few sets in advance. And they're like, hey, Rose is kind of broken now, and some of the cards we have planned might break her even more. Let's just take care of it now.
Yeah. On the flip side, just mentioned Digimon there. In Digimon now, we've had a couple of instances of banned pairs. So if you have a card from category A, you can't have a card from category B in the same deck. Like, if it was just a thing of Cecil with Rosa, that's the issue. Ban them together in the deck. Allow them to be separated if it doesn't cause too much issue. The Cecil just giving your board protection is, I can see you have to pay 2 regardless of what your opponent wants to do to you.
Well, I don't think banning the combination in this case helps, because then Rosa is essentially useless, right? Because her ability is specifically looking for card name Cecil.
Yeah.
So there would be no other time that you would play her unless you really, really were dedicated to a Cat 4 deck, and fixing the elements using Rosa might be beneficial.
It would probably be a linked card code rather than anything else. It'd be linked to specifically the Opus 16 Cecil with Rosa.
And we did see after the fact, just recently, we don't know what the cards do yet, but there is clearly a Paladin job Cecil, which is what the Earth Sacrifice Cecil is looking for, a Paladin, a Cecil this job Paladin, like the Wind one, that there is a Cecil card being printed in the next set. We don't have any of its text, but I presume its job is going to be Paladin, since the artwork is Cecil as a Paladin, not Cecil as a Dark Knight. So could be as early as the next set, just a few months from now, that we see like, oh yeah, that's that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You could not have let Rosa survive with both the Wind Cecil and this one as a target. So the other a limitation, not a ban, this one was stripped to, you can still run it, but you can only run one copy of it in your deck, is the 2-drop Light Yuna. We saw it like rise to prominence almost immediately in swarmy type decks, Vikings, things like that. They want to splash a ton of very small bodies out as fast as possible and then just tax the hell out of you. Or dull the hell out of you and swing with 15 forwards, and who cares what you X burst. Yeah, got a little too dominant and took you out, Flynn.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't have fun playing against it? I don't understand.
I think I got destroyed by it. I think that was my fastest loss on the day.
Torchwick hated this deck. I was mono earth, so I had a ton of board clears, and I had lots of ways to ping Yuna off before running a board clear or before letting them tax me into oblivion. The only time things got really dangerous for me were like a turn 1 Yuna where they drew the nuts, where they were able to like Gallif into this forward, into a free play, into a Yuna, and they had the ability to like tax me 3 times. Which made a turn 2 or a turn 3 board clear almost impossible to pay for on my side. But other than like ripping the nuts in that situation, I could deal with Yuna decks. I wasn't favored against them. I was mono earth, and Yuna can feast on them too. But I never went into them going, oh my god, it's an auto loss. I always thought I was in there and I had a shot even if I wasn't favored. Torchic says, I managed to absolutely destroy a Yuna deck with my Luso nonsense, though. He was running a 6-drop fire Luso deck at competitive events. What a weird kid. What a weird kid.
I am very curious with the next set how the new Charlotte is going to be seen.
I mean, in the latest set, the 5-drop Ice Charlotte is nutty.
Have
you messed with her yet?
The one, it shuts off your opponent's forward's action abilities.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, we've had things like that before with like the Emperor from Opus 2, which shuts off all action and special abilities as a dark forward. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll certainly be more relevant than the dark forwards, that's for sure. Let's finish it up, my friend. It's been a blast. Let's go do Love It or Leave It. Love it or leave it is the way we end every episode of the Relic Grind here. It's where I give you something Square Enix related. Could be a game, could be something they've done or said, a feature they've added to a game, and you tell me whether you like it, want more of it, or leave it, never to be spoken of again. And we've done this one once or twice, but we've got Tactics coming out. We've got the Dragon Quest 1 and 2 playing a big part of the Tokyo Game Show. And so I got to ask you once again, are you still on board for a potential Chrono Trigger HD 2D remake? Is it something you absolutely love and want, Flynn, or leave it? Nah.
Yes.
Don't mess with a classic.
Oh, it's one of those ones that just slots into a 2D HD.
2D HD might be one of my favorite art styles in a really long time.
Yeah.
I fucking love it. And then we got Octopath Traveler 0 too.
You give me anything Team Asano, I'm like, yeah, I'm sold.
Yeah. So you love it. Torchwick says love it. Yes, absolutely. I'm still gonna go leave it. I go back and forth on this one, so I might change my mind again, but I'm gonna go leave it. I'm just too worried. Like, Tactics really should have been the War of the Lion version, and I understand why it couldn't be from what they said, But then there were changes made to some of the Dragon Quest stuff. Yeah, I don't really put it on the line of censoring like other people did, but there were changes made to that. Again, I understand why, but I don't like the fact that they did that. And Chrono Trigger is so... I'm really regretting not buying that like pristine mint one, but I couldn't spend $1,000 on it.
Yeah,
I already own it. Like I already have the cart in the box. Like I can't justify that. But yeah, I'm gonna go with leave it for now, and I'll probably change my mind again. That's gonna do it for us here on the Relic Grind. We'll be back next Thursday, and then we'll be off the following Thursday since I'll be traveling for the North American Championship. So we will see you next Thursday, and then off the following one. Until then, Flynn, where can everybody find you?
You can find me over on Twitch up within Crisis, probably streaming next on Saturday with the new Digimon Time Stranger demo, which I am very hyped for. give me more RPG goodness. Otherwise, playing at school all night on X, along with Within Crisis podcast on YouTube and Within Crisis on X as well.
I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me right there, but Magic Man 1. But more importantly, follow at RC Raideo, Raideo, and you'll know every time we're going live with a podcast, Final Fantasy Trading Card Game Live Locals, a stream from Torchwick or Tarkov or anybody else. Until next time, stay safe. We'll see you on the servers. Later.